Now let us move on to the next segment of our conference. We're going to have a debate with the topic of how is technology affecting our daily life, outlook to 2025. And for this, I'd like to invite on stage CEO of Etisalat International, Mr. Hatem Douidar, and the founder of Telecom Review and CEO of Trace Media. Please welcome back Mr. Tony Eid.
Good morning. So my debate with Mr. Douidar now is different. We'll watch together a short videos, okay? In fact, this is a clip from 25 videos. We put it together to see how the technology is affecting our life and how we'll deal in the future. So let's watch the video first together. Can you see the video on the screen here? Can we see the video on the screen? It's okay. I can see on the microphone. You have it.
Yep.
Yes. Okay, so as you see, everything. So, Hatem again. They're different as we see different method of payment now. Okay, so maybe soon we will not see a banknote with the people, with all this digital payment. How will it affect our society?
I think mobile money has already been developing for a number of years. And I think, you know, Tony shared with me this video a couple of days ago. And my first reaction was, this is not really 2025. This is today. This is where we are in lots of these things. Many of these things will improve with the hyperconnectivity that we're seeing now, but they're already there to one extent or the other. So in emerging markets, mobile money has been there in some countries for a while. I think the biggest success story is in East Africa with M-Pesa. However, it's growing everywhere around the world now in emerging markets. We are seeing this whether in Asia, in India, it's been picking up, geometrically growing in the last 3 years. We're seeing this in Pakistan, we're seeing this in Bangladesh, in other parts of the world. In the Philippines, it's been there for a while. And then the big change that has happened over the last years, and this is what we see here, our operators in developed markets where already the banks are there, are putting the money on the mobile. So Apple came with Apple Pay, Samsung has Samsung Pay, there's Android Pay, there is now even some of the smartwatches. So for example, I use a Garmin activity watch, it has Garmin Pay now, so it has NFC and a wallet built in. And the operators are also fighting to get a share of this pie. Many operators have their own app with the wallet that they put on the phone. So in reality, the same way in the developed world, the money went out of the wallet and the credit cards came in. Now the credit cards are going to disappear and be substituted by virtual credit cards that you would have on your device. So you don't have to carry a wallet and a mobile and different things. The mobile is becoming also your wallet, where you have your different credit cards, where you have also your cash for daily transactions. So this is already happening today, but what we're seeing with the take-up are more and more shops accepting it, more and more online sites where you don't need to put your card data, you just press on the screen and verify either with your face or your biometric thumbprint, and automatically it pays. So this is becoming the norm now.
Maybe 2025, no banknote?
I think before that, many people will not carry banknotes with them as they move around.
Okay, thank you. There will be soon no more waiting in line for our food order. You see, she got bored waiting in the queue. Then she used her app to order food. So the app is always in our hand. It's not far. So how do you think the people using this, and how it will affect also the pros and the cons for this deployment of apps for every aspect of our life?
I think it's making our lives much easier. I think before, our generation, if we used to order delivery at work, you would get 5-6 menus and choose what you're going to do today, and then you start looking. And if you're more than one colleague ordering together, it's a problem that you might want to, order different. Somebody wants pizza and somebody else wants a burger. Now life is so simple with these apps, because you can order multiple types of food from multiple places and they will be all collected and delivered to you. And I think the question, and this is something that we discussed before, how will this affect employment? I think many of these things will not. It will just make life much more convenient. I think there's still another, let's say, generation or two, and then the delivery is also happening automated, where you start seeing the effect on employment. But today, whether when you order and you get somebody delivering it and you go, whether you're in Dubai, in Cairo, in Beirut, everywhere, you see these motorbikes all over the city now delivering all kinds of things that people do on app, creating jobs on its own. And still, there are people working in these restaurants, preparing the food. But we are going to see more and more of this convenience, not only when you're ordering, but even before you go to Starbucks, you order your coffee and you go in and already you find your coffee ready with your name on it and you already paid it. And this is already existing in some coffee shops in different countries. Yeah. So this is, again, things that are maybe a bit niche now, but this is going to be the norm of the future.
Okay, now with the advance of the self-driving car, okay, what do you think will be our behavior? How will we behave when we're in the self-driving car? Besides, also, you will tell me about your opinion for regulation of self-driving car also.
Okay. How many people here have Teslas? Anybody here have Teslas? No.
How what?
Have Tesla? Drive Tesla. Anybody drives a Tesla? No. Anybody drives a recent Audi, BMW, or Mercedes with lane keeping? I think you do. So already today, self-driving cars are there, whether fully autonomous or semi-autonomous. The difference between what we have today and what we're going to have in a couple of years once 5G is there is the hyperconnectivity. So today, I have an Audi. It's not the biggest one, but I ordered in it semi-autonomous driving. So I made a special order for it. I paid maybe $5,000 to $6,000 extra. It has LiDAR, which is a type of radar. It has ultrasonic detectors, and it has cameras, visual cameras that detect the situation. And basically, once you're at the highway, you switch it on, and it will observe the other cars, it will observe the road markings, and it will speed up and slow down according to what is happening. Of course, this is very good if you get distracted, if you're changing the music, if you're speaking on the phone, because then it's additional help. But what is going to happen? So this is technology is existing today. This is what's happening in the Tesla. This is what's happening in a lot of the Audis, Mercedes, BMW, some of the Japanese cars as well. So this is existing technology. What is happening with 5G is having hyperconnectivity. So if there is an accident, all cars know there is an accident. So if there isn't an accident, and then all cars have to first sense the accident with their cameras or their radar, and they have to slow down. They already know before they get to the accident. Maybe they will even reroute before that. Even today, Tesla in some markets, they have the connectivity. If there's a pothole and one Tesla somewhere goes into a pothole, it will record the location of the pothole, and all other Tesla cars will know that there's a pothole in this area and will be avoiding it when they pass by. So this hyperconnectivity allows a much safer autonomous cars, because today, even if you have these functions in the car, all the manufacturers are telling you have to keep your hand on the wheel, you're responsible for the road. But we will come to the point where, and I think Dr. Isa mentioned it, when we have these much more advanced computers, much more advanced sensors, the car will be much smarter. Add to it the hyperconnectivity and being able to talk to other cars that are around, to the road itself. So the road, there will be also different devices on the roads that will be emitting also all kinds of instructions to the cars. And then you get to the point where you do not need to hold the steering wheel anymore. I think this will revolutionize a lot of things, because first, the way Uber made a lot of people not buy cars anymore and they use ride sharing, you will have that even at a much more scale, because for a family, instead of having 2-3 cars, you can have one car, it drops you, it goes and takes the kids on its own, goes and drops your wife and picks the shopping and so on. So this is going to be a much safer world, but also I think will be much kinder to the environment as well, by having less cars produced in the world, less congestion on the roads, and so on.
But the car still didn't recognize, as connected, didn't recognize to choose between two risks. Okay, you know the Tesla, what happened in California months ago, when the car avoided other car and then hit the pedestrian. This is, I guess, still the main issue.
Yeah, but I think this is, again, like all artificial intelligence and cognitive intelligence, this is how you program it, but this is the same for a human being. If you're driving a car and you have two hazards, you will have to make a choice.
Yeah.
And that choice needs to be made and programmed into the car, and it will follow what you program. So,
but do you think if you're human and driving a car, you choose to hit pedestrian or you hit a car?
well, it depends if you're driving, if you're driving or your wife is driving. It will depend.
It's your decision. I'm asking you. Anyway, also now you know the way we do business with the video conference is everywhere. How do you think will change the lives, or even doing business, communicating business?
I think today we all travel much less for short meetings. We still travel, but for longer days and workshops. But for short meetings, a lot of us now are using video conference. A lot of us are using telepresence. So I use telepresence maybe 3-4 times a week to have meetings. I mean, Daniel is in Pakistan and we meet very often, almost as if we're in the same office, because we both have telepresence suites in the office and we just use it for meeting. But now, once we're getting into, again, hyper connectivity, virtual reality and augmented reality will be much more advanced. So you will get to the point where we will have holographic conferencing, not just video conferencing. It will be holographic. It will be proper virtual reality, where you are actually sitting and seeing everybody around the table in 3D. And then you can have even less traffic, because we can be in this conference 3-4 years from now, and actually we are in different countries and we're projected here on stage, and many of the people sitting here would actually be projected there, but they're sitting in their offices or sitting in some other places. So this is not science fiction anymore. This is not Star Trek.
Right?
This is what we're going to see, and it's not something we're going to see again 2025. I still disagree with 2025. This is something we'll see much sooner than that.
Okay, very good. So I plan from 3 years, Etisalat will be my broadcast partner.
Absolutely.
For the summer.
Absolutely.
Okay, now we see last part of the video is about mobile health. Is upon us. What the pro and con, visiting doctors. What is the trust of people doing the test using mobile and sending results to doctor, where you used to go to communicate with the doctor one-to-one? It's different now. How we will educate people? Maybe we have the Minister of Health that he can give us opinion also on this. So how do you think the communication is acting on the health system?
Look, I think today, I mean, let's say the relationship between a doctor and a patient is important, but at the same time, by having all kinds of sensors and communicating a lot of readings to, again, not only to the doctor, but to AI to identify problems, you can prevent a lot of things before they happen. So the doctors are needed because they have the expertise. At some point, you will have doctors that are programmers. I've actually met, last time I was in Silicon Valley, 2 or 3 companies that are using cognitive AI to develop applications to be able to diagnose even better than a physical doctor. They can look at ultrasonic images and be able to diagnose it with much more accuracy than a human being. So the fact that you can wear, actually not only wear, that you will have sensors inserted in your body that will measure a lot of vital signs and will give you alert and give the medical carer also an alert when something is going wrong, this will prevent a lot of things, because a lot of problems, whether they are chronic problems or incidental problems, are much easier to be treated in the early onset. So by monitoring all the vitals of the body, I think this is again part of what Dr. Isa said about transcending the biological, barrier and being better biologically. And again, as you know, there are lots of projects going about longevity and having people live for hundreds of years. And I think part of it is genetic engineering and so on, but the other part is preventing things like heart attacks, somebody who has diabetes that gets, misses an injection. Today, lots of people who have diabetes are starting to install in-body pumps that are regulating the diabetes all the time. This will be the norm. So devices inside the body that are regulating different functions that are not working well or sensing problems are going to be part of everyone's life. It's going to be a choice that you get the same way you get now a tooth filling when you go to the doctor and they ask you, you want a ceramic filling or you want, a regular filling. It will be the same. You want, what kind do you want to put? A watch that measures, or I will just put you a small chip under your skin that will measure your vitals. This is coming.
Okay, now I will have question from the audience.
Thank you very much. It was what he was asking, so I said, I'll ask something. You may hit both actually if you make a mistake, but the car won't. It'll choose one of them. But a human being, by mistake, will hit both. So that's where the technology comes. It actually helps you. Ethically, it could be wrong sometimes, but at the end, it's protecting you. And you can't do anything about it. Even though you do regulations, still you can't work on it. But the future would be the jobs that are here right now will not be in the future. That doesn't mean that there will be no jobs. The jobs will be different. So if we remember when it was the Industrial Revolution, all the automation of the industry, manufacturing, they were done, people said nobody will work. Then they worked in the industry, in the factory, but controlling these, programming these, so always there are new jobs. So I think future is optimistic even for jobs. What do you think of that?
What do you think, Hatem? Question for you.
No, I agree, and I think it resonates very well. I think as we go, for example, the example of the doctors and physicians, once you have AI applications that are doing diagnosis, you will need people that understand the human body to put the code into them. So you will end up with physicians and doctors that are also programmers. So this is something that doesn't exist today, but this is something that will come in the future. And again, with all what's happening with autonomous cars and so on, you would need people that do different things and different programming and different functions than what people are doing today. So some jobs will disappear, other jobs will appear. I think the question will be, will it be balanced, will it be more or be less? I think nobody can tell right now, but But definitely some jobs will be disrupted, but other new jobs will appear as well.
More questions?
Good morning. It's quite refreshing to hear that we're moving on in the thinking towards wider technology applications. But given that I'm in and out of the telecoms industry every now and then, I'd like to hear a bit more your views on where are telecom operators across various geographies from all of these developments. These will certainly generate more traffic, more data traffic, of course. This hyperconnectivity and, you know, whether it happens now or in the long-term future. Are telecom operators bracing themselves for simply handling more traffic at lower cost, higher volumes, lower cost to maintain their margins? Or will they ever get into this game seriously and start investing in these alternative developments?
Okay. It's a very, I think this is a question we can probably spend the session, so I'll try to be short. So I think there is a base of telecom operators everywhere where we will be the pipe that carries this communication. So everywhere, in every market, everyone will be the pipe. And I think there is going to be a race to be the most efficient pipe. And this comes back to 5G giving the opportunity for energy and spectrum efficiency, so everybody will try to be an effective pipe. And then in different markets, you will find operators taking a different role. So we've seen, for example, here in the UAE, the two operators are very much into smart cities and automation because it's part of the government vision. It's encouraging the operators. So you see a much deeper ICT service that are provided by the operators. So it's not that the operator is just providing the connectivity, it goes much, much further. I think, you know, for example, Dubai Parks as an example of something that Etisalat has done. I don't think that anywhere in the world an operator was a main contractor for all the systems, communications, queuing, security, and so on for such size of projects. Usually the operators are, somewhere in the background just doing support. So we see that in some markets. In other markets, we see operators really leading on the mobile payment. So again, if we go example of East Africa, we see the operators own this mobile money. In India, we're seeing that as well. So the operators are very active in this. Then we go in, for example, autonomous cars and so on. We find the connected cars. We find some operators. I think specifically the ones that are really pushing hard into this are Deutsche Telekom and Vodafone. They are very active into this. They even bought companies that provide some of the hardware components. So they're really getting into it. So I don't think that there is going to be an answer where every operator everywhere will do all these things. But you have every operator providing the pipe. And then depending on the market, some markets you will find the operators are actually the efficient owners of the cloud and everybody is using their cloud. In other markets, you find they actually provide a much deeper ICT service or any of the niche services that are there. So I don't think there is a one question. Even if I talk about Etisalat in the different markets we have different operators that have a different set of competency and strength in different areas than the others. So it's not as homogeneous as other industries.
Dr. Matkour, last question.
Very great debate. Mohammed Matkour, Huawei Technology in China. So these are very great comments, and I think we cannot agree more about the future and different services and also the economy that will not just depend on the resources. So, but I see the competency still, as you commented, for the operator to adopt to all of those changes. Still, it's a showstopper, not just for you as a leading operator. I think you already started the transformation of having organization that looks at these kind of new services. But to me, it's even beyond that. It's even about the value chain that disrupted, the new competition. So you as a leading operator, how do you think the competition and the upskill, the outskill that you see that you need to adopt in your organization, how does that change? And how that change your planning for, let's say, the next 3 or 4 years?
Okay, I think we are constantly as operators having to evolve. And I think we learned a lot from what happened with the OTTs for the last, I would say, 7, 8 years, and how the market changed. So in lots of our services and lots of our development now, we are looking into how we can get the right talent. So for example, in cloud computing, I think we have acquired a lot of talent in the last few years. In data centers, for example, this data center was not really core to many mobile operators, maybe a couple of geographies where we had a fixed operation, we had data centers, but now everywhere we operate, we have data centers where we're providing the service to our customers. Much, let's say, even from a sales perspective, we're getting much more talented people into selling ICT services and not just selling a SIM card and connectivity. So, of course, the hard part is that there is a fight for this talent, because we are fighting for this talent. The hardware manufacturers of the world are fighting for this talent. You have some of the OTTs fighting for this talent. So everyone is trying to get them. But I think as operators, we are still attractive enough to be able to get some of those and use them in the right way. I think, and just to close, I think some interesting experience talking about virtual reality. So I got a gift a few days ago from my children because of my birthday, a virtual reality standalone device. It's made by Oculus, which I'm sure a few of you have heard. But now they have launched a new one, which is standalone. You don't need to plug it into a PC or into a computer or into a PlayStation. You just put it on. And it's such an amazing experience. You can, there are a couple of movies where you actually are standing in the middle of the movie while you're watching. And it's fantastic because now it's working with Wi-Fi, and it's a mixture of standard definition and high definition because of the speed of Wi-Fi. But once 5G is there and you already have these standalone devices, you will be sitting in an aeroplane, or you'll be in, in an airport. You find everyone sitting there with the virtual reality glasses and in their own world. So the world is changing, and I think we haven't seen all the change yet. The video was interesting, but there's still more to come in the coming years.
They still feel the turbulence? Or we'll see next, maybe.
Yeah.
Even the play in our feeling. Thank you very much
for
the interesting debate. Thank you.